Any Marines in the crowd? Well, if not, happy birthday anyhow. Yesterday was a Marine Corps birthday. Once the truck goes by, okay. I always like these opportunities to try to teach you younger adults something, so I'm going to do that. And I'm going to tell a little bit about the history of the town and veterans in it, and then we're going to go through the formal part of the service. Veterans Day used to be known as Armistice Day because it signified the end of World War I that happened on the 11th hour of the 11th day of 1918, of the 11th month. And it eventually became Veterans Day in order to honor all veterans, living and past, who have served their country. To begin with, I'm a first-generation American. My father was an immigrant. He got out of a country who's changed its name 4 times since he was born, just before the Nazis walked in. And can you imagine what my grandparents must have thought when that happened, and later when the Russians walked in, and it wasn't until 1991 that all those problems walked away. I was a commander of a refugee camp in Guantanamo Bay during the Great Haitian Nation migration. And the people were so desperate to escape that country that they would simply paddle out to sea with the expectation that the Navy or the Coast Guard would rescue them. And then we'd bring them to Guantanamo Bay and we'd send them all to the States. Well, that didn't happen, and most of them got sent back, and they came right back again because they thought that going to the United States was so much infinitely better than what they had in Haiti or what they had in Cuba that they risked their lives for it. And succeeded at a terrible cost. The Navy said, we get about half of them and the sharks get the rest. But those people were convinced that was the most important thing they could do with their lives and provide for a future for their families. I'm telling you this because, like I always say, you need to study history. There's lots of things happening right now that are going to have effect on you as adults for probably a long time to come. So you need to understand the reasons behind these actions and what you can do to help or make life better for everybody. My mother was an Army nurse, and when she first got to an Army hospital, she was very surprised to see that there were wards full of people, mostly guys, with measles and mumps and chicken pox, because during the height of the Second World War, there were 16 million people in uniform, and these people had come from all kinds of tiny little towns like Charlevoix, and were never exposed to all sorts of communicable diseases until they got together in a very large group. So that was the first thing. But these people were also very, very proud of the fact. And if you see the name on the monument here, you go out to the Brookside Cemetery, you'll see that George Crowder was a Marine recruit, and he was so proud of that fact. Unfortunately, he died in basic training, but his monument for an individual with very large Marine Corps initials is out there because of that pride that he showed in his country and his willingness to serve. We have a list of people here who have fallen in the service of their country. 2 of them actually were in the Canadian Armed Forces when they passed away. Most of these other people have died far, far away from here, but there was an Army lieutenant who actually died fighting the Japanese when they invaded the Aleutian Islands. Probably most people have never heard of that campaign, but it was very vicious and it happened. But all is not a bad thing. There's lots of fun and adventure in the military service. It's 99% boredom and 1% sheer terror. And I can tell you that I am probably ever going to see, and so are all these people behind me, because we have to go out and fight who's ever threatening the peace. And we don't do it out of hatred, we do it because of love. For everyone that's standing here, for our families, for this town, and for our country. And that's probably the most important thing. What we're talking about today is love. And don't forget that. It is a very strange thing, it's a proud thing, but most importantly, if you love your country, you're truly a patriot. And that's what it's all about. So now the ladies of the auxiliary will present a wreath, and we'll have the firing party and taps. Thank you. Present arms. Order. Arms. Firing party. Port. Arms. Ready. Aim. Fire. Aim. Fire. Aim. Fire. Detail. Present.